the way you speak to people, the way that your people perceive you, if you're listening, all of these things that are all what you learn in acting, but you actually always use in your professional world as well.
I'm really excited to share a special guest with you where we're going to be talking about creativity, artistry, starting something new that is coming from within yourself, and also trusting yourself to take the steps to create a business that you love that involves helping other people embrace visibility and their own creativity. I'm Sheila Botello. I am a self-care strategist, creator of the Seasons Self-Care Strategy app, and host of the Connect with Sheila Botello podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome to everyone in attendance. And now I have the privilege of introducing you to my guest. And before I bring her on, I'm going to have her explain all about herself and where she's come from and some exciting things that she's got in the works. But for now, I will say Elanna Ross is the founder of the Acting Social Studio. And I'm thrilled to have her explain what her goal is with this beautiful opportunity that she's opened in the community, how it's going, and all of the roads in her own creativity that have brought her here. So I'm going to just bring her on now. Let's see here. I think she just needs to request one more time. Ah, there we go. Lovely. So stay tuned. And here she is now. Elanna,
Hi,
hi.
how are you?
I'm great. Welcome. It's so good to see you.
You too. It's been a while.
It has. And what I've been loving is seeing your promo videos for the Acting Social Studio. They just like draw you right
Oh,
in.
oh, I'm glad. I'll have to pass that on to my code creator. He's the best.
Ah, so wonderful. So I would love, Elanna, for you to share with me and everyone watching who you are, the work that you're doing, and then we're going to get into kind of what brought you here. But yeah, maybe describe yourself for our viewers.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Elanna Rossdeutscher. I'm a director, screenwriter, actor, and acting coach. And I create stories with my passions to make stories with a childlike wonder uh, to the complex mind of adulthood, and also by using a psychological approach to make stories that make you empathize with your enemy. And with my acting studio, I have created uh, an idea of, instead of just using acting skills to learn how to act, to actually use acting skills to help you with your personal and professional goals, such as public speaking, confidence, body language, presenting, networking, social anxiety. So that is who I am.
I love so much that you have taken this creativity that you've had for so much of your life and turned it into this beautiful creation, because it's something now in this world of so much video and online business and all of the ways we're connecting in different ways than we're used to maybe from years ago. Things like you're talking about are really coming to the forefront. The things like fear of visibility and standing out and having your voice be heard, and how are you perceived and how are you received. I think it's such a
Yeah.
fun and playful way that you're addressing it. And that's why I wanted to have you on.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how did this kind of, let's kind of back up a little bit. How did your journey in film and TV and screenwriting and all of that, how did that get started for you? And tell us a little bit about kind of the little path that you've been on to get to where you are now.
Sweet. I'd love to. I actually started acting at age 4 because of my mother, because she was a theater director. And I remember being in my first play And I honestly had maybe 2 lines. It was not a big deal. I got to color on stage. I got to pick out some PJs to wear, and I got to suck my thumb and sit on a couch, and I couldn't have been happier. I was in heaven. And for some reason, like, there was something about when I wasn't acting, I would go onto the balcony and just look out and watch the other people act. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, there's nothing better than this. And then um, as I grew older, I got to do more and more plays. I started doing plays in Hamilton. And then I was in theater till I was 17. And then I got into this acting program at age 17 at LB Acting Studio in Toronto. And there I got to learn TV and film acting. And from there, I kept learning, and it was like the best thing ever because not only did I get to learn TV and film, we got to take scenes that we learned and film them at an acting studio, like a film studio, and it just made me feel so incredible and important. And it just started making me realize that this could be my life, this could be my world. And from there on, I became a teacher's assistant at that studio, and I got to learn kind of how to help direct these actors. And then now I have I started my film, and I just finished that, and then I opened up my acting studio after that. So I think that everything that kind of led me up to now has just been a domino effect. It just kept being this new thing that would just help and add on to the next thing.
Oh, yes. And what I'm seeing too are the themes of from at a young age, you knew what lit you up and you
Mm-hmm.
trusted that and you followed it. And that's the beauty of finding something. Not everybody finds that when they're younger, but that really is a gift.
Yeah.
The gift also lies in trusting that you can actually follow it and
Mm-hmm.
not allow like maybe traditional thinking or outside forces to kind of pull you away from that is something that you really know that you want to do, because everybody's got
Yeah.
their different ideas about especially creative pursuits. For some reason, even though film and TV is like, I don't know, multi-billion-dollar industry, for some reason this kind of starving artist kind of thing kind of comes into people's minds. But when you really think about all of the people who are involved in creating even just one production,
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
whole
Yeah.
ecosystem, it's a whole economy. So
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
there's always more. Like there's more stories to be told, there's different ways for it to be told. So I think it's beautiful that you just trusted it and that you went for it. And I would love to know too, like, tell me about when you decided this is what I want to do. What was that like in your home life? Like, what kind of encouragement did you get? What kind of response did people have when you said, this is what I want to do with my life?
Yeah. I think that when I kind of just started getting into the arts, I got into dance first, and I was a competitive dancer for 8 years, and I thought that that's what I was going to be doing. And then I kind of 16, I was starting to kind of battle the two ideas against each other, and I tore my psoas in the side of my body, where if I danced for more than 3 minutes, I felt like I've got stabbed and I couldn't breathe. And I was gonna keep fighting that and be like, I could live a life like that. It'll be fine. But then I started to realize that that might have not have happened, right? Like I don't think I know now that I wouldn't have been able to keep dancing. And my favorite part of dancing was my performance and how I could make people feel from it. And the feedback I got back from people was always like, "Oh, I loved this little thing you added," or "I loved like how you." I just get so excited watching you on stage, and that started translating into acting more as I got into TV and film. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, maybe that this is actually the best of both worlds, of these two worlds colliding." And when I brought it up to my family, I was hoping for support, right? And I was lucky that they're very creative people. My dad's an entrepreneur, and my mom has always been an artist in so many different ways. What an incredible woman as well. So I was lucky that they said, if you can support yourself and you can do something that you love, we support you.
Mm.
And I love that. I'm so glad that I got that because I honestly don't think that I could keep going the way I have if it wasn't for them because it's so hard, right? It's so hard to do all of this. So yeah, to have the support from them was incredible. And my friends were just so excited. I had great friends as well that were just like, this is so cool. Like you get to be in this thing. And so I am lucky in that way. I'm very lucky in that way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, like you say, both of your parents are creative, and it's so true that on the entrepreneurial space is really an exercise in creativity and experimentation and
Yeah.
facing things like facing having putting yourself out there, possibly failing, rejection, all those things. And when you're moving into acting and any kind of performance, really, you have to be knowing that, okay, there's going to be rejection is going to be part of it. Here's the thing though, I don't think people understand that's just true. I think of anything that we pursue, especially if it's
Yeah.
something we've never done before, if we're leveling up and going into something new. Like I said before, it's almost like certain industries and certain focuses, people will have like a little label on it as to, oh, well,
Hmm.
this is how it is. But really, it's true of anything we're going to do that is different. So I love that you got the support, and I love your parents. They're amazing. And it's just
Hmm.
great to kind of hear that story of the boundary that was shared, but the support and encouragement that you had. And yes, you realize it takes having a supportive ecosystem to be able to really have the longevity. And I mean,
Hmm.
those who don't have that and they still make it like that, that's a lot of inner strength. But you've probably built a lot of inner strength from the process of auditioning. And like, how did you find the auditioning process when you were, getting out there on the limb?
I think that when I started it, I had a very I thought of it as a very specific way of doing something. And I was like, oh, I just have to go in there and I'm going to say hi and then I'm going to make friends with them and then I'm going to start my scene and it's going to be great. And it was not really like that because when I started fully auditioning, it was right before pandemic started. And that was when I got into more bigger auditions. And so I think at the beginning it was a lot of self tapes. Even now, I guess it's always been a lot of self tapes. And so it was changing that idea of, okay, so they won't actually get to know me or say hi to me when I start. That's new. And now I have to think of like, okay, how can I, you know, still be personal and personable with these people?
Mhm.
And then I found self tapes really enjoyable at the beginning. Like I loved it. I was able to like have this space to just play with it and have fun. And but I think as the time went on, it started to get more difficult to try to do these self tapes because you just don't everything you don't get this feedback, right? And you're looking for these answers or just like a hint of just like a face expression that you think would help you kind of connect with the person that's the casting director or the director. And so I think that was really difficult and a change to kind of get used to. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of just imagining what will the response be. And
Yeah.
that's something really interesting when it comes to like how a lot of us are. I mean, now a lot more people are working and connecting with people face to face, but still a lot of people, our remote workforce has really
Mm-hmm.
shifted. It's larger. So being on a screen and doing like, doing anything that is like you say a self tape or putting something out there without having the feedback and not getting the energetic response, it can
Mm-hmm.
really raise a lot of questions for you. So it's great that you've been able to just consistently keep doing that. And do you find like, are you still acting? Are you still auditioning while you're also building your acting studio?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Today after this, I'm going to Oakville to work on a self tape with my friend. So it's still a constant thing that I'm doing.
That's
So,
it's an art
oh yeah.
in itself. I've seen some of them, and I'm like, it just it's captivating to me because
Mm.
you're showing
What
like,
about it is captivating to you?
well,
What do
you're
you like
showing different
about it?
sides of yourself, right? And I mean, I know you as you, and I know your younger self too, because I met you when you were much younger. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of interesting seeing you take on a whole new persona and like you're like
Mm-hmm.
stepping into a whole new kind of identity. And so I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. And
Yeah.
yeah, like, do you find like I know there's all these, and I don't know, understand all of the terminology, but like, what type of acting do you find you lean towards? Like, is there a certain model that you do? And what is
Hmm.
that?
Honestly, for the longest time, I was all about dramas. Like I love getting dramatic. I love the complexes of like a crying, sad, emotional scene. And even from a young age, I was like, that is what I love. But I think just recently, I would say that I'm starting to realize that I have been doing dramas for so long and enjoying that I haven't actually had that childlike feeling in a while of just playing with the thing, like playing with something fun, playing with something that's just like quirky or different. And so now I'm kind of letting myself be like, hey, that's not less important than a drama. That's just as important, especially if we're performers and we're, especially in the time that we're living in, of just like helping people just feel something or feel good or feel fulfilled. Um, and so I've been kind of playing in that realm lately, and I'm loving it because it's
Mm.
funny how I could play a dramatic piece and be somebody who's really outgoing, but then just go all serious. And now, just like actually, I think what this new step is just stepping more into like myself and trusting that the combination of my art and who I am is just blending together, and I don't have to be exactly a character to do that.
Mm.
Hmm.
That's so great. I love self-trust. I love that this whole conversation around self-trust with all the different things that come into our lives and the things that we get to do. Um, I think every decision that we make comes from how we see ourselves. And if you can
Yeah,
find yourself being able to trust yourself to try on new ways of doing things, then it just expands what's possible. And don't you find like when you put yourself into a new space or a new character, you're like, oh, it expands out to now you see something else that you could do, another type of role that you
yeah,
could play. But you wouldn't know it
totally.
otherwise, right? Unless you had stepped
Yeah,
into that.
yeah. And I think that that's what happened when I started getting auditions for more different characters, like the crazy nephew who's like drunk at a party, you know? And I was like, I've never done that. Let's try that. And then it ends up being so fun because you're like, you get to try all these things that you would never normally get to do in your life, right? And you're
Mhm.
like, wow, okay, sure. Today I'm a zombie killer. I'll do that.
Right?
It's
I
fun.
think a lot of
Yeah.
people like this is the beauty of I think what you've created too is that people are they're in their life, it's the same every day. And to be able to step out of that and into a new persona in a safe space, there's so much value to that too. A
Yeah.
playfulness and an exploration and something that you may learn about yourself while you're actually in it playing a different role. So maybe tell me now about this shift then from like yes you're still acting you're auditioning but then the shift from this beautiful movie actually maybe let's start there.
Mm.
Tell me about your own self-directed film that you did. Like it was really interesting seeing the pieces of that come together. Maybe
Mm.
share some highlights about that and where people can find that to watch it too.
I would definitely say that this has been one of the biggest highlights of my life thus far. Like making that film was something I was never even expecting to feel that much of an emotional pull to. Like, so my film is called Fire Escape, and it's about a young jazz musician who falls in love with a girl fleeing from abuse, and it's about how logical and romanticized love just clash together, and also the idea of what happens when you get distracted by love and what happens to your dreams when you get distracted by love. Like, what's more important? Um, and I got to film it all in Cambridge, Ontario, where I'm from. And I got to use local businesses to film in and just show the beautiful architecture around the city. And that just felt really important. And it felt very necessary for me to make my first film in my hometown and just be able to share the community that I grew up in.
Mm.
And so that itself was just so fulfilling. But my favorite parts were, oh man, favorite parts there was there was a moment that I was on the fire escape and we were taking photos for our poster shot, and there was this incredible movie like pink sunset.
Mm.
The entire sky was pink. And my producer looked at me and he just made me pause and he said, like, take this in for a second. Like, look down, look at all the people here. They're here to support you, and we're all doing this because we believe in this.
Mm.
And it's because you brought these people in, and you just have to remember this moment. And I very much remember that moment. And um, the best way I can describe making this film was that there was like this. I was in a snow globe where it just felt like the snow was just falling so slowly, and I was in my own world, and everything else just disappeared, and I was in my zone of flow and my zone of passion. Like everything just lined up, and it felt very natural to me. So uh, I crave that feeling all the time now.
Ooh. So we'll see how you recreate this in different ways, different iterations ongoing. But what a beautiful first experience.
Yeah,
And I agree,
yeah.
like having it filmed in your hometown and having the support of local businesses and supporting local businesses, like what a
Mhm.
beautiful appreciation for yourself in that role with your first film. And, I guess from there, when did this idea of the studio come to mind? Like, how long has this been percolating? Tell me about, when it actually launched and then how it's going and like who should be coming and checking it out.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, funny enough, it actually started as a acting group of people that I called Acting Social, because there was a group of actors in Toronto that I wanted to get together. And when I was living in Toronto, that was a big focus, that I wanted to have people come together to my apartment at the time and just try on these different scenes and play with them and have fun with them and have these deeper conversations about what we've been learning, what's been working, what hasn't, and just having that creative space with a community of people. And as you can see, a community is a really big word for me.
Yes, same.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So then it started becoming bigger, where we started going to TIFF and going to movie events and writing notes in the theater and then having a dinner to talk about it. And as it went on, I started realizing that I was doing this in Toronto, but there was nothing in my hometown. And I started thinking, what could this be if I turn this not into just conversations, but like a studio where people can learn and take the things that I've been taking from this community and bring it into a classroom. And so that's kind of how it started. And first, it started more as a studio just to learn how to act in a general way for TV and film. But lately, it's just been building into something of its own, where I've kind of pivoted and focused more on using these acting classes for people who want to use them for the specifically professional goals, and how acting skills are what you need to change these little tiny things that are from acting techniques. So just like, sitting differently, breathing from your stomach, the way you speak to people, the way that your people perceive you, if you're listening, all of these things that are all what you learn in acting, but you actually always use in your professional world as well. So, yeah.
It's so great. And I see how, like, for instance, back in the day, I went to Toastmasters because I wanted to be doing more public speaking and speaking from stage and being able to communicate well. And other people I knew had done that, and it was great. But I feel like in this scenario, what you've created, it's so much more deep because you've got all of the different cues that go along with it. Like it goes so much more deeply into how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others. And then you're learning in that group atmosphere, it sounds like, from, other people's strengths or growth edges. So I just love, and the sense of community too, and playfulness. I can imagine how much laughter and
Yeah.
enjoyment comes in this realm as well.
Yeah, and there's also just like this moment when a student just gets it,
Yeah.
right? And they have their first breakthrough, and you're just looking at each other, and you both know it just happened, right? And you're like, "Did you feel that?" Like I do this thing with my actors all the time where I go like this, and I said, "It's this." And they go, "Yes, it's this." And it's just this funny little joke that we have, that when we do this, it means like something's just working. Something, the magic's happening.
It's
So
yummy. It's
yeah,
good.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So whenever my actors do something good, I go, "Oh, it's this." So they feel
uh,
good.
I imagine, so much comes up in these exercises and these
Mm,
these events because like we have our persona, how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, how we show up. And then depending on who we're connecting with and what rooms we're stepping into, things come up from inside of us and maybe things from our past. So it's
Hmm.
almost, it feels very therapeutic.
Yeah, that's a common word for it. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you find like how are you attracting people? Obviously on the socials, are you, what are the other ways that you are reaching out to find new people to be joining this beautiful community?
Yeah. I think that obviously social media, I think also just trying to connect in person with people and networking events and just talking to the community in general, just about what they're doing, and then just being like, oh, that's interesting because this is what I'm doing. And that actually connects to you because what you're talking about is something that I can help you with, right?
Yeah.
Um, I also would say, let's see, also just events for film as well,
Mm,
because then as I'm working with my film, I'm also talking about acting social, and that's how it all kind of connects in this nice way,
mhm.
where it's like, oh, someone liked my directing. Oh, well, I can do this at my acting class for you if you're not in one of my films. So
Yeah.
I really like how all of those just blend nicely.
Oh, that is a beautiful blend. And
Hmm.
understand, like I mentioned off the top, the world has really shifted. And I feel like, with AI, with all of these different things coming in that are really going to help make our lives a lot easier, there's also, if we allow it to, it can actually be a beautiful opening up of space to actually connect with other people. And I feel like that is the theme right now. I'm noticing
Hmm.
people want to be actually connecting with real humans,
Yeah.
that actual space together, and like really stepping in a more powerful way into the purpose of their lives.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of things come up when we try to do those things, but it's having a safe space to be able to explore the way we're showing up and to deal with like getting visible, which
Hmm.
for years and years they've been saying what the public speaking is like the number one fear, like people fear that
Yeah.
falling or
More
something
than
like that.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid to die. I'm
Insanity.
afraid of speaking in public. Maybe if I speak in public, I might die. And actually, it's interesting because there is a connection, right? Like my Eastern European friends, my people who are like in different parts of the world who've come through serious conflict where you don't want to stand out. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like inherited trauma, it's witnessed trauma, and we may not even know like where is this coming from, but it makes
Yeah.
sense in being a woman, right? Like
Yeah.
historically we want to like just you don't want to rock the boat.
Nope.
So you're really providing a beautiful service for people who are like wanting to actually break through those types of fears, because
Mm-hmm.
there's such a beautiful like I've experienced it myself where there's a beautiful sense of calm and a sense of just acceptance of yourself being who you're meant to be and doing the work you're meant to be doing. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do that, it like gives permission to other people to do the same. And so I feel like you're
Yes.
providing a platform for that.
Yeah. I think that that's the reason I started the studio. Like that is the biggest reason, is because I love building people up, and I know what makes me feel alive, and I want to help people be able to get to that point and feel comfortable in themselves to do those things and feel confident.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples was I had this student who had really bad social anxiety, and also wanted to use acting social for their business goals. And
Mm.
so one of the homework I asked them to do is kind of different. I told them, when you go into a coffee shop, the next coffee shop you go into, I want you to walk in and change the way your posture normally is. You're probably looking down normally, or like trying to like not look at your surroundings, but I want you to look at your surroundings, look at everybody around you. And that actually can comfort you. And when you go up to the person when you're ordering, just say, how are you? And say it in a genuine way instead of just like a quick, you know, by out of sight, out of mind type of way where we're all robotic, but just actually connect to
Mm.
that person. And when you sit down, don't find a spot where no one can see you. Actually sit in a spot where you can see everybody in the room. Because once you can actually see everybody and you start to notice things, you think it'll actually make you feel more anxious, but it calms you down because you realize no one's really paying attention to you. But now you can pick up on little things that other people are doing. And from that, he was like, I feel so much better walking into rooms now. Like I can walk into a room and feel much more confident just from doing that. There's so many little things, right? There's so many little things. And if acting is all about body language and just empathy,
Yes.
if you're empathizing and being curious with the curiosity, it's bringing all of those little things and adding it even when you walk into a coffee shop. So it's
Oh,
fun.
what a public service action, because you feel like so many people are just walking in and like just robotic
Yeah.
almost. So the more people that can walk in and actually make a connection, how beautiful the ripple effect is. And I notice when one person does that, everybody else kind of perks up
Yeah.
and they start showing up more like human as well. So yay, I love this. And isn't
Yeah.
it interesting? It's those simple things. Like it seemed for that person, it must have felt like a really big deal because the
Yeah.
result was a big deal. But when you break it down step by step, it's actually little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Yeah.
that is
And
so
they're
powerful.
doable.
Yeah.
They're pieces that you can do and you're not going to be like, oh, that's too much too quick. It's like a slow burn, right?
Mm,
And so you get these little wins each week during the course because it's like, okay, we've done this. Oh, I've changed this little thing. And now we're going to crank it up a bit more. Now we're going to do this. And it's not in a way of, say, in a coaching space. Sorry, I also wanted to say I've started doing acting social and using it into corporate. So using it for, a team of workers at one business, right?
right.
And so you're building teamwork. But instead of it just being coaching when you're trying to work together and just feeling a bit tense, you're actually getting with acting social to make it really creative and fun because it's not coming from a place of I need to learn. It's coming from a place of, oh, we get to like act and we get to do something creative and fun together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking away that pressure and you're exchanging it for fun and new ideas together.
Oh, and I think it's so valuable in a group context. Like I can see this being a wonderful addition to like business retreats.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it being something that is just part of like developmental practices within inside of an organization, because people can, like, so many businesses are so focused on their goals, which is very important, but like they become disconnected from each other. And so
Yeah.
something like this really brings a cohesion and a sense of empathy within the workplace. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something earlier. You said, and it's doable and it's
Mm-hmm.
one piece at a time. And I just want you to know this is so somatically informed. This is so what you're doing. It's so nervous system supportive, because Tal Darden, someone who I've learned some and been, going through some nervous system healing practices with, she loves to say, do the next doable piece.
Mm.
And the nervous system loves calm. It loves
Yes.
familiar. It loves slow. It loves that feel. It brings anything that brings that
Comfort.
safety and comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so interesting. You're able to help people do this in a group context, which normally people may think, "Ooh, but that's scary because you're in a group
Yeah.
and everybody's looking."
Yeah.
But the way you're presenting it does sound really safe and enjoyable and playful. I mean,
Yeah.
play is such a beautiful thing. I think, I know your parents are definitely, I have a feeling play was probably a big part of your education growing up.
Yes. Totally. Like trying new things, trying this, trying that. Oh, you see this? Great, let's go do that. I think my favorite thing that I've learned from my parents is normally parents, when you say you want to do something crazy, they go, well, I don't know, right? And they'll like test you on it. But both of my parents, whenever I said like something crazy, like when I wanted to go to Bali for a month,
Mhm.
I said, I'm thinking of going to Bali for a month by myself. They went, great, go do it. That sounds like a once in a lifetime opportunity. You should definitely do that. And I think the biggest decisions I've made in my life have only happened because I've been like, I want some feedback. What do you think? They're like, do it. So
Mm,
yeah,
so valuable.
yeah,
I love that you did that.
mm,
Yeah, I was gifted with parents, my father specifically, but both my parents were very supportive that way too. And
mm.
to where, your friends might be like, really?
Yeah. Oh
Really?
yeah. No, I talk to my friends a lot. They're like, what?
And I've borrowed that kind of feeling with my own teens, and
Mm.
realizing like we are co-regulating with each other all the time. And
Yeah.
so for instance, let's take it back into your studio. you're leading these people through these exercises. You're calm and confident, and that actually it is released into them. It's like that ecosystem that they're in. If you're calm and
Mm-hmm.
confident, more likely they're going to feel that way too.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
you may be the only space where they're showing up and actually feeling really calm and
Mm-hmm.
confident. It's
Yeah.
pretty, you're doing some incredible things. I am so
Thank you.
excited for what you're created and what's to come. And I look forward to spreading the message of your work and letting people know about it. This is one way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for those people watching and who will hear about this on the podcast after the fact, please check out Elanna. We're going, well, obviously here on Instagram, you'll see her Instagram handle, and make sure that you follow Acting Social Studio and see all of the good things to come. Is there anything specific you've got upcoming that you want to promote right now? Like an event specifically, or just maybe
Oh,
what your next classes and sessions are?
yeah. Well, I think I have two things. First one is that summer classes have now begun. You can start registering. So they go pretty fast. So if you're looking to get into an acting class this summer, go to actingsocial.ca and you can sign up on there. And then also, I don't have the exact date yet, but I will be having a premiere in Cambridge for my film Fire Escape so that the community can all come and see it. And so that'll be in early fall. So definitely excited to look for
Oh,
that.
oh, well, I'll be watching. Send me all the
Hmm.
links and
I
I'll make
shall.
sure they link it all up. And everyone, thank you so much for listening and being here. And Elanna, thank you for sharing. It's so good to see you. And I'm just so excited. Like you're following your bliss, like you
Mm.
always do. And I can't wait to see everything that comes from this.
Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting with me. I loved it.
Wonderful. Have a great rest of your day and take care, everybody. We'll see you on another Instagram Live.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.